Before arriving on campus for orientation, every LSA student will have already completed the Sweetland Center for Writing's directed self-placement essay and questions. The DSP asks students to read a complex article, write an evidence-based, thesis-driven essay in response to a prompt, and answer a series of questions about their writing process. College-level writing will already be on their minds before they start their coursework. When the DSP essays are forwarded to you prior to the beginning of classes, you will have the opportunity to become familiar with your students' writing before they ever set foot in your classroom.
The DSP process is designed to give students an idea of what college writing is like. It also, I think, gives students the idea that writing is a serious part of undergraduate education here. When they come in, they take a substantive math test, they take a substantive language test, and they do a serious piece of writing. And I think that that gives them a very good barometer for understanding what a university education is all about.
One of the things I like about directed self-placement is the goal of involving students in making judgments about what's right for them.
That first week before classes start is a real time of a lot of tension, and you're nervous and you really want to go well and you don't know who's going to walk in that door, and it's just an interesting time of uncertainty. And what's great about the DSP essays is they come in your email box, and there you have a little sampling of writing from all your students.
Each of the instructors in my courses receive the DSP essays at the beginning of the term, and they read them before the class even starts, so they have a sense of the people in their section of the larger course as individual writers.
It saves us time on some level because we don't have to do the diagnostic. It's already done for us.
Your instruction then, I think, is a little bit more targeted. You start off on a little better foot than you would have without it.
We can learn from these essays something about what the nature of their training was in high school writing classes, which is useful for us, but we can send a message to them as well, which is, here's some work you've done already. Where does that work belong in the bigger scheme of you're becoming a college student, you're becoming a more sophisticated writer, you're engaging with a variety of topics in an interesting way?
I think it's easy to overlook when we get wrapped up in our courses and what our goals for our courses. It's easy to skip over that transition from, say, high school writing or writing students have done before to what's expected of them in college now. But I think it's really valuable. For me, it has been really valuable for me as a teacher to acknowledge that transition and to begin to communicate expectations about what college writing is. I think that the DSP essay is a way that that can become transparent. It gives us something tangible, another way to kind of have that discussion.
Here at Sweetland, we have produced a number of suggestions and strategies that instructors can use throughout the semester to make the DSP an integral part of their teaching.
I break them into, since this is a workshop-based class that I teach in English 125, break them into groups of 3, and they all sort of talk about their DSP essays together, talk about what constitutes good writing.
When I did this, it was the introductions, and I put them together in a single document, and I put them up on Course Tools, and we looked at them on the big screen in class, and I did a kind of writing workshop with them. What's working with these introductions? How do they frame the claim? What is the claim? We had some really good examples, some not so good examples that we could brainstorm from. How would you improve the writing here?
I use it more as a chance to reflect, for students to reflect on themselves as writers, both their progress and their process.
We were able to use the DSP essay to say, okay, let's look at the features of how you address this prompt. Now let's talk about how you would address it differently if it were a prompt about literature. And you could then apply that to classes on philosophy and other things. So I think it's a great way to teach academic genres and the idea of writing in the disciplines right at the very beginning. So even if it doesn't exactly match up with your class, I think you can use it as a teachable moment to talk about how different expectations will be given to these students in different writing courses.
I think that sends the wrong message to the students. It says to them, okay, you had to do this as an exercise to figure out what class you belong in. And now it just disappears into nothingness and has no relevance or no potential value for you.
In terms of letting students know from the get-go that the university cares about writing, we want that kind of continuity. We want students to come in having had this experience and then having reflected back to them that someone read these essays and cared about them and, you know, was going to take the time to do something with them.
If you bring that essay back in, even where the content is really different from your course content, then you're saying to the students, okay, you did something here, and it might be really interesting, and let's look at what's interesting about it, and were you to continue working on it, which is something an instructor could choose to have the students do, here's what else you could do with it. Let's make it a part of the learning process as opposed to simply just a placement tool.
A lot of the educational world thinks about assessment. How can we make assessment more authentic, and how can we connect our assessment practices to what goes on in the classroom? And that's what's so great about the DSP. The assessment the students have done in assessing their own writing then connects directly with the work they'll do in the classroom. So the teachers can draw on the assessment for their classroom work, so it becomes more of a linked process, rather than the assessment process feeling detached or as something that they did that doesn't really have any practical relation to the classroom. So I think that's one of the best things that the DSP brings to our school.
For more information about using the DSP essays in your course, visit Sweetland online or on campus at 1310 North Quad.